Good morning, guys. If you're in New York or New Jersey or anywhere, in the close area, tonight here in the city, I will be part of a fundraiser or an art exhibit to show the work of Rob Will, who is an innocent guy on death row down in Texas. So if you're in the vicinity, you can find the link and the address and everything else on all of my social media accounts. I can't tell you what it is right off the top of my head, what the name of it, where the address is, what the name of the building is, but you can find it on all the social media accounts. Just look for the free Rob Will art exhibit material. Um, I guess one of the things I was thinking about today, what I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit for our high magic today was how we constantly seek, until we start to look within ourselves, we constantly seek to manipulate the external world. The reason we do that is because we think that if we can get things just the way we want them, then we're going to finally experience eternal contentment and peace. I guess the main reason that we're here to interact with and observe all of the material world. It's like being in school. It's an education process. That's what this world is for us. It's the reason we're here, is to learn things. That's why the world has certain laws, like the law of gravity and what have you, is because they are limitations that are imposed upon this reality to make us learn different things in order to operate within those laws, or even overcome those laws. For example, being in a plane, you are overcoming or overpowering the law of gravity, at least for a while, to get to where you're going. So we're here to learn from everything in this world. But the main source of our education here is our relationships with other people. 90% of our lives is about interacting with other human beings. And that's in a million different ways, whether it's with your kids, your spouse, your next door neighbors, your enemies, people that you consider your enemies that you hate, people that you talk to online, people that are standing in line in front of you at the grocery store, people who are sitting next to you in the movie theater. 90% of our lives is about our contact, communication, and relationship with other people. Whether it's opening up more and sharing more, or whether it's knowing when to impose boundaries for the well-being of all involved. The vast majority of our education in this world comes from our interactions with other people. But it's also one of the biggest sources of our fear. We have abandonment issues, or commitment issues, or just issues. Everybody's seen people that are constantly watching others almost in hopes of something to become outraged for. Something that usually has nothing to do with them even. They're just looking for something to get outraged. What all of this is resistance to reality. Whether we realize it or not, or whether we want to admit it or not, we try to manipulate the behavior of other people in order to make them do or behave how we want them to behave. That's the core of things like giving someone the silent treatment. If you give someone the silent treatment, you are trying to get them to do what you want them to do in some way. Or try to think of another example, because we do it all the time. There's blatantly obvious examples, like when you get angry at someone and start yelling at them, you're trying to get them to behave the way you want them to behave. Trying to think of other examples. Even to some extent, trying to seduce someone is trying to get them to pay attention to you so that you can influence the way they behave. The reason we try so hard as a species to manipulate the behavior of other people is because we think we can orchestrate this outside world in some way that is going to eventually make us happy. And that's not going to happen. Jim Carrey one time, I thought this was so accurate. He said he wishes that people could have the amount of success and money and adventures and privileges and everything else that he has been able to receive in his life, just so that they could see that none of these things are the answer, or none of these things are going to provide happiness ever. You'll have that split second. It may last a few days, that surge, like, oh, I got what I wanted, I achieved this goal, I got this new car, this person finally did what I wanted them to do, I got this new house, whatever it is you're thinking about that you think will make you happy. When you get it, that chemical surge will give you a rush for a few days, or however long it is. Sometimes, like in a new romantic relationship, it can be even months, if not a couple of years, that you get that rush, that high of happiness. But eventually, when it wears off, we realize nothing in the material realm in and of itself can ever make us any more fulfilled. And the reason for that is because we are divinity. We are part of God, this one organism that permeates all things. That's us. That's what we are. We are complete. There's nothing we can ever achieve. There's nothing we can ever collect. There's nothing any other person can ever do. There's nothing we can ever do that will make us more than we already are, because we are everything. We are all. But we don't realize that. There's an interference there, a level there. And that level, that interference that keeps us from realizing what we are, what we're capable of. That's what we call ego. It's the self. This personal sense of self that must defend its ideas and perceptions against the ideas and perceptions of what it perceives as outside. Because if the ego or the self doesn't maintain this boundary of some sort at all times, it has to create a boundary out of how it identifies itself, like what religion it is, what sex it is, what race it is, what political party it is. It has to create a boundary for itself out of all these things. Because if it doesn't find a way to maintain some sort of boundary, it eventually merges back into its original state, which is the state of consciousness we were in before what the Bible calls the fall that takes place in the Garden of Eden. We fell not from a place, but from a state of consciousness. From the state of consciousness which dwelled on and contemplated divinity at all times, to a state of consciousness which only focuses on this outside world. Or mostly 99% on this outside world. You know, we may be distracted for a little bit when we go to church on Sunday, but then we're right back to the next day focusing entirely on things of this world, trying to manipulate them. Okay guys, I'm going to cut this off for now. I hope you have a good day. I love you, and talk to you back here soon.